Satan, Lucifer, Belial, Leviathan, Samael.
Welcome. This is Aleister Nacht. I have two very special guests tonight. I am a big fan of the YouTube channel that they have. It's really inspiring for me. It picks me up and gives me the will to continue on because the content is just so good. And I know you'll agree with that. They have over 17,500 subscribers, 559 videos. So you can't say there's nothing on to watch. And every one of them are fantastic. I've probably watched every one of them. We're going to talk about one of them especially tonight that's really interesting and where that idea came from. They have over 3.1 million views. Absolutely for the left-hand path. Leading edge. I wish I had that many views. But they've been at it for a while too. They also have the Sect of the Horn God, which is not only their association, but their belief. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So please welcome Thomas Leroy and Lisa Corrine. Welcome, both of you.
Thanks, buddy. Good to see you again.
It's so good to see you. I had you on about a little over a year ago, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most popular of my videos, and people leave a lot of comments. They're really interested and they're inspired. Some of the comments that I got were related to your time in Los Angeles in the music business, and that to me is fascinating.
And movies also. Movies and music.
Oh,
Both.
it's just wonderful.
Both.
Wonderful. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So welcome to both of you. So what is new with the two of you since we've talked last?
Like everyone, just trying to make it through this chaotic economy, if you will. The sect is growing.
I still have about that much to
Yeah, she handles the stuff I don't like
yeah,
handling.
when people are
That's why I
applying,
turned it over to her.
yeah, when people are applying, there's a lot more, and as it gets bigger, it gets a little more. It's sometimes harder to sort it out. When I first wake up in the morning, like, oh boy, right? But they're good people for the most part. Although we do get some weirdos for sure, but
These are the perspective
yeah,
members, not our members are
yeah,
perfect.
these are people trying to apply.
They're all very fine individuals.
Yeah.
No, we don't allow any degenerates into our wonderful organization.
Yeah, they have to go through quite a follow-up. It's they have to talk about themselves, how they got there, like that kind of thing.
The questionnaire,
Yeah,
and
the
then after the
questionnaire.
questionnaire, we have a follow-up
Yeah.
and so on. Just to weed out the nut cases, if you will. So we're a little behind on getting our certificates out to people. We had to get a new printer because our old printer, he lost his printing press in a fire up here in Northern California.
But we're getting on it.
Yeah, so
We really are.
So are the fires affecting you up in Northern California? I know they're around Los Angeles, but
no, we got rain up here, luckily. So everything's nice and green, and there hasn't been much wind. But yeah, LA it's been brutal for them down there. And like as we had mentioned earlier, I lived down there for years. I was not only in bands, but then later on got into doing movies and so on, movies and television, did some acting. in some of those restaurants I used to go to with this crazy ex-girlfriend I had, on the coast are now gone, and places like Malibu and so on. Yeah, I can, we can relate what those people are going through, because we were caretakers on a winery here. We're situated just north of the Napa Valley. And we were caretakers. We owned a small bookstore. Absolutely stunning place.
Oh, it was beautiful.
It was a whole environment we had. We called it the Abbey of the Horn God. We even had a little chapel, if you will. And August 14th, 2016, a fire called the Clayton Fire came through and just destroyed it all. Now, initially, we thought, nothing was going to happen. The firefighters were there because we saw, it looked like a mushroom cloud behind our home. And the firefighters were already there. So we thought, they're going to get it. So I boarded up the doors the best I can because I was mainly worried about looters.
Yeah.
We hopped in a friend's car and we headed to another friend's house. And we thought, we were going to have a barbecue, a few beers, and then be back in the morning. Well, later on that day on TV, just so happened a news crew out of the Bay Area was up here, and they got a shot of the winery. And that's how we found out.
And our house burning down.
Yeah. We saw it on TV. And it's like, shit. And you realize that about 90 to 95% of what you own, you can replace, TVs, clothes, so on and so forth, books. But it's that 5 to 10% that you can't. That's a bitch. Because I was a family genealogist. So I had photo albums going back to my great grandmother. And I inherited, after my father's death, his coin collection. And he had Roman coins over 2,000 years old.
Oh, wow.
It's that stuff you can't replace.
Yeah.
Just think those coins have been around for 2,000 years and now are gone forever. Yeah. And getting through it's you go through a grieving process. I know a lot of people are probably saying, well, they're just a bunch of rich assholes. They can sort through it, but they're still human beings. It doesn't matter how much money you have. There's that, like I said, there's that stuff that you cannot replace.
Yeah.
And you go through a grieving process. It's rough.
Mm-hmm.
It is no fun, but basically our philosophy, like for instance, Shiva, who is a left-hand path, who can be interpreted from a left-hand path perspective. Not most of the time he isn't, but he can be. He is Shiva the destroyer. He destroys so one can start anew, if you will. And as Lisa has said herself, when you're thrown into the abyss, there's only one direction, and that's up.
Yeah.
So it's like, when you're on this path, you want to be challenged. I wasn't expecting a challenge like this, but you want to be challenged, and it's how you make your way out of it determines your mettle, if you will. Like I had just quoted, that idea of just, because after something like this happens, you're at the lowest point possible. And there is only one direction. That's the one good thing about it, because there's only one direction. You can wallow in the pity, which is something people on this path should not do.
That's so true.
Should not do. You know, as Nietzsche said, whatever kills you whatever kills you makes you stronger. Not doesn't make you stronger. It makes you stronger. Even though, like I said, these people have tons of fucking money. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're still human beings.
Yeah, there's still people.
Yeah, some of them might be complete assholes. Some of them, fine individuals. Who knows? But still, I mean, it's a grieving you go through, and it's a bitch. But you learn from it. You grow.
Yeah. I remember that morning. It was Sunday, and I had just we always had a big breakfast on Sunday, and as I was doing the dishes and I was looking out over, into the window, because in front of me there was the vines to make wine and stuff, and I was thinking, when is it? I thought, when is it going to be our turn in terms of the fire? Because it was so dry. 10 minutes later, house burnt down.
Yeah,
so 10 or 15 minutes later.
We left.
Yeah, we left. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
After that.
It took a little more than 10 minutes to bring it down. It was in time that we had to leave.
And over 60% of this county has burned.
Yeah.
More of this county is burned than not burned. See, what it is California doesn't do any forest management due to environmental reasons. They refuse to. So even though Newsom, who's completely fucking worthless, even though I usually don't get into politics, but that son of a bitch, he talks about climate change. All right. Okay. Climate change is a reality. It is happening. Mm-hmm. But if you know it's fucking happening, shouldn't you prepare your state for it? You know what I mean? It's like, my analogy for that son of a bitch is, he's like someone who shouts there's a killer in the neighborhood, but then leaves the front door unlocked. Does he do that? Does he do that because I don't know, he wants to be proved to be right? You know what I mean? Hey, look, I told you it's climate change. This was a wake-up call for a lot of those people down in LA. It was definitely a wake-up call. They're going to realize what sort of hell they're going to have to go through in this state, because not only are there not enough people to rebuild those thousands of homes and restaurants and, schools and you name it, the hell you have to go through in this state, the paperwork, the permits, so on and so forth.
Absolutely. It's the same in Florida. All of the people that have been damaged by the hurricanes that came through. I mean, we had like 2 back to back. They couldn't get permits to repair their houses, so they went ahead and repaired them anyway, which I would have done that too. If you got a hole in your roof, you're going to wait on the county to give you a permit. And the county made them tear out everything that they did and find them. Wow. And it's like, what the fuck is our government doing for us? It's
bureaucracies. It's not about helping the individual. We're not getting what we pay for by paying taxes. You know what I mean? For them, it's about the bureaucracy itself, maintaining it as an entity, practically. It's no longer about what it was initially created for. It's just about keeping it alive. So yeah, you didn't have, if you don't play by the rules, they say F you,
Yeah, they sure do.
Yeah, it's self-serving.
Yeah, exactly.
The government only exists to serve itself.
Right. Right. Exactly. It's like the 2-party system. You got one party. Well, put it this way: you can either get kicked in the balls with a smirk or kicked in the balls by somebody with a smile. You know what I mean? The Republicans have the smirk and the Democrats have a smile, but you're still getting kicked in the fucking balls.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Both parties, absolutely worthless.
And that's what a lot of people don't really understand about government. It's a two-party system, and both parties want to fuck us. That's
Oh
it.
yeah.
I
Oh,
mean, Trump has talked a big talk, and he's got people that believe he walks on water and all of this shit. But in the end, he's going to do what serves him and the
Right.
Zionists and everybody else, but it's not going to help people that pay taxes, people
yeah.
that are just trying to make it by.
Yeah.
So,
Not too long ago, Tom and I were talking um, about Americans, and they have so many good things in America. There's so much good,
She's from Canada.
and yeah, I'm a Canadian, and they often talk about moving to Canada, and I just start laughing at them because the rights that you have as an individual in the United States are not allowed in Canada.
A lot of them.
A lot
Well,
of them.
number one, freedom of speech. You don't have it. So of course, there's a lot of positives about this nation.
Oh,
You know
absolutely.
what I mean?
And
yeah, yeah,
and
there's no utopia
No,
no,
and there never
anywhere.
will
no.
be.
Yeah.
That in Canada they also have their. I don't know how to do it anymore. I know that when I was raising my daughter, there was no freedom of religion. You were not allowed that to be like pagan or whatever you want. That was illegal. You weren't allowed.
Well, you didn't have the First Amendment right
Just
of
yeah, yeah.
religion,
And in
if
those
you will.
days, I had child and family, and the police come to my door because somebody phoned them about me because I was raising her pagan, and they came, two police officers and a social worker to come take her away.
And
And
I'm so afraid that as America, we're headed to the same thing because the Constitution is only as good as people that follow it and can enforce it.
yeah, yeah, good
And
point.
and it's like a law. If you write a
Yeah,
law and you have no way to enforce it, it's worthless.
right.
Yeah,
And it is really, I can tell a lot of people contact me and they're very afraid, and they should be,
yeah,
of what the future holds because it was not so long ago that they burned witches at the stake. And, people say, well, that could never happen again. Well, maybe not that, but you can be deplatformed. You
yeah,
can, yeah, your income taken away. You can be ostracized. You can be put on a political hit list. So burning at the stake to me is the less of the evil. If your life is over and you cannot do anything, um, I don't know, maybe I'm a bit too
no, 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 no. You're doing
maybe I
good.
look at it a different way. I always try to be optimistic, but back to your point on the fires, I think another thing, and Thomas, you brought this point up, and it's an important point that people don't realize. While while those people in California have lost everything, their home and everything, and they have to go to a hotel, some of them have other houses. Okay, well, that's fine, but the majority of people do not have another place to go. So, how long are you going to be in this hotel-like existence? Because now there's a shortage of people to come and build your house again.
Mm.
I mean, that's not only is it painful because you've lost everything, like your coins and your whole family lineage, but now you have to go and stay in a hotel and you don't know when that is going to end. I think that is sad as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
Oh, another thing too, our bookstore, since we had that bookstore, our private book collection, I realized that after the fire, I didn't own a single book because I didn't bring a book with me when we left, you know. And we had literally thousands of books. I had, yeah, some of those occult books. Jeez. Luckily, we got some of them back. Yeah, Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good thing for Amazon. That was that helped out considerably. Um, but man, we went to this bookstore in Santa Rosa, like just like what, 3 or 4 days after the
Yeah.
fire. And this was another thing about the fire that was, well, kind of fun, if you want to call it that, is we just went and just started grabbing books off the shelves. You know, oh, we don't have that anymore. We don't have this anymore. You know, and we brought up just piles and piles of books. And they ended up giving us a deal because they were asking, "How can you get so many books?" And we said, "Well, you heard about that fire up in the county we live in, and blah blah blah." And said, "Yeah." And they went, "Well, we were in it, and we lost everything." And they actually ended up giving us a deal. And then we went across the street, went to a used bookstore. They had some really good occult books in that bookstore, and did the same thing. So we just went home with like a shitload of books. That was kind of strangely cathartic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It felt good. You know, like we were doing some. We were rebuilding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
Almost right away.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, the wisdom of books is so profound. And in our society today, people are wanting things quickly. I love sitting down with an old book, an old tome, an old
Oh, yeah.
treatise, and just reading through it because someone put so much labor and so much attention and so much caring into writing this.
Yeah.
And I found out a couple of years ago, the first bookstore that I went in that had um, LaVey's Satanic Bible in New Orleans. It was one of these, back in the in the corners of the city off Esplanade, not the best part of town, very small mom and pop. That's where I first saw Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible, and it really influenced me so much and inspired me. But someone burned that place down a few
Oh,
years later. Can you imagine all of the wisdom that has been passed down in these books? They had some of these older books, and they had a lot of books on Marie Laveau,
Oh,
which
yeah.
which I mean, for New Orleans, that's like saying the Pope in the
Oh, yeah.
Catholic religion. She was just, such an inspiration and such a pioneer. But to
these.
lose all of those old books, I remember one of them was actually written on, he called it sheep cloth. I don't know exactly what it was. It wasn't like paper, but it was bound with animal entrails that had been dried and turned into like string.
How
And
old
it
was
was
the book?
it was part of his collection. It was an old book on Marie Laveau.
Oh, okay.
It focused on the time when she was at the lakefront, the Pontchartrain lakefront, and she brought a storm up over the lakefront. It was an actual handwritten account from back then, and they lost all of it. Somebody, some son of a bitch burned the place down. It was arson.
Was it like due to it being pagan or satanic
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever
it was
excuse?
a threat. It was a threat to the status quo. New Orleans is very, or it used to be. Now, this was back in the 80s when this happened. It used to be very Catholic. I mean, you could not cross a street without doing a rosary down there. So, that's part of the 80s,
Oh, the satanic
the
panic.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
And
remember it.
I
Yeah,
can I can very, very well see it coming again.
You know how YouTube is. I mean, they're really finicky about what your content is. And they'll look for any excuse to
Yeah.
basically let you go.
They will destroy your channel and give you no
Yeah.
reason. They will just
Yeah.
say you violated the community policy or whatever. Well, which one? And
Yeah.
exactly how?
Like you said, I mean, there's 260 something, no, it's 200, 560 some videos, I think, something like that. Um, I put way too much time into it. You know what I mean? It's like, God, to go in and get an email from YouTube saying, you violated this because you said this word we don't like. And we took it down. Because they've taken down a couple of my videos. This one they took down this one I did on Lilith that has over 1 million views, and the only reason why it has 1 million views is because the thumbnail was like really sexy. Uh, that's the only thing I can think of because it wasn't very good. It was an early one I did. I don't really like it. It's short. Uh, anyway, they took it down, and then I fought it. Uh, I just basically, this is for educational reasons. This is myth and philosophy, psychology, history, if you will. I mean, this has, educational relevance. This isn't for titillation, and they put it back up again. So,
Well, good for you. Yeah.
yeah,
I've had several that they've taken down, and uh, I will ask why, and they just say it violated a policy. Well, it could be one word that I used that their algorithm picked up on, or their content moderation program picked up on. There's no freedom of speech on there for
no,
sure.
it's a private company. The First Amendment only pertains to the government. So private company can do it if they want. We unfortunately have to play by their rules.
mhm.
The town that they're based out of, San Bruno, I used to live there during my high school years. I know exactly where they're located. That's not a threat, YouTube. That doesn't mean I'm going to comment. Don't take that wrong. Like
We-
that one woman, she had her channel removed and she drove up from, I think, Southern California or something like that. This happened a few years back. But yeah, she was really upset. They took her
Wow.
channel down.
wow.
Yeah.
Overboard.
Man, you can demonetize something and leave it on there. I mean,
Sure.
it's not a big deal. It seems like on the left-hand path, we're always one step behind, or in other words, they never really tilted in our direction as far as the decision. It's like, well, no, you're, you said a word in there. We're not going to tell you what word, you know, it is what it is. So,
Yeah, they took the video I had they just recently took down. It's called Sheep. I had used the Pink Floyd song Sheep off their album Animals, and it was all about, the sheepish nature of human beings. And I showed different examples. And one of the examples I showed was Jonestown, Jim Jones and the People's Temple, and the 900 dead people laid out, an aerial shot. And I got it, it's like this was stuff you would see on the news or whatever. That image was enough to take down the video.
Wow.
It wasn't like I was going, hey, that was a good thing. Those, 900 people killed themselves and their children for the glory of Jim Jones. No, that wasn't the point at all. It was like showing the horror of just being a mindless sheep.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And the fragility of society that it could happen again and does
Sure.
happen over and over and over and over again. We just don't, as a society, we just don't learn those lessons. We don't see those red flags, just go right into it. I guess it's the guru syndrome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's a
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah.
People, I mean, we're tribal creatures. We are communal creatures in a lot of ways. And what sets us off on this path, different from them, the status quo, is our ability to disconnect and gladly disconnect from the status quo. We're not going to moan and groan and cry, if we don't get our way. You know what I mean? Like, in the past, I've had people like present ideas like we should start a satanic city, town, a community, and we all get together, and it's like,
no, I've heard that before too.
That's not going to
It
work.
makes me nuts.
That's not going to work.
Stop it right now.
We're too individualistic. We
Yeah.
cannot be a commune. That's not going to work. Now we could, like, okay, we had the winery and we had a couple of sect members living there, but we were not a communal environment. We had our own homes doing our own thing. You cannot have the left-hand path cannot become the status quo. Then it's no longer the left-hand path.
Yeah, you're right about that. Absolutely.
So we are, we're in the shadows, or as I like to put it, we are the monsters at the windows at night, peeking in at the family. You know what I mean? The status quo. We're happy where we are, but at the same time, we can observe them.
I love your videos. Where do you receive the inspiration? Is this something that comes from the ether? Is it something that you both
Sometimes.
feed off of each other, or what's your process?
I'll hear something, maybe I'll watch something, a video, or it could be a television program. One time it was off the radio of all people, still listen to the radio sometimes, and I heard something on the radio that triggered. And most of the time it's a passage I'll read in a book or something like that, and it'll just set off. I'll start going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And I'll start piecing things together, and then I'll go. Lisa's my first audience. I'll go it over, like during lunch, we'll sit down for lunch and I'll go over this idea I have, and she'll tell me yay or nay. Or she doesn't have to say anything. It's just, I can tell if I see this look in her eyes and she gets like, okay, that sounds interesting. and then she'll ask questions and she'll fire off a bunch of questions. Then I know, okay, that's probably a good idea. That idea might work. And some have come from dreams I've had, just that bubbled up from the collective unconscious, if you will. So yeah, there's a lot of different sources. And early on, I would put out more videos, short videos, quicker, every couple of days, every few days or so on. But now it's more, I have to be inspired. Something has to really get me going. And I feel a need to share it. And part of the reason why I make the videos is to see if I fully understand what I'm talking about, if that makes any sense, or what I've come across, like, let's say, Jungian philosophy, Nietzsche, different mythological characters, whatever. Do I understand? And if I can put it into words and communicate it to somebody else, then I've realized, yeah, then I get it too, if that makes any sense. That's part of the reason why I do it, is I want to make sure because basically, if you can explain something, fully, then that means you understand it also.
I think there's something very cathartic about speaking putting together a video and actually speaking it into the ether. To me,
Yeah.
There's something very fulfilling about that. It satiates my spirit by having done that.
It's almost like ritual in
Yeah.
itself. Like mine, I'll come up with a script, or sometimes I'll just freeball it or whatever. And then I'll go, okay, I have this dialogue. All right. Now, what images go with it? And I'll sit there and I'll piece together the images and the flow of the images. And then after I do that, there's the music and so on. And Sect member, Etu Malku, does the music, as Tarkam is the name of his musical band, I guess you could say, or persona. He does most of the music, and it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Sure is. I'll ask him like early on, I'll ask him for a piece of music. I'll tell him, okay, this video has this feel, so on and so forth. And he'll just right off the bat, he'll give me the perfect music for it, really moody and so on. And also, I don't have to worry about copyright infringements, on YouTube and that sort of thing. So you got to find the right kind of music, because I don't know how. I've seen some videos where the music, if the music isn't right, or if it's too loud, or just doesn't go with what the content is, I'll quit watching the video.
Yeah, yeah, me
music,
too.
It's a soundtrack. But like I was saying, the whole process itself of learning, as you do when you do the research, and then presenting it, and then all that other, all those other aspects of piecing it together, is almost like a ritual unto itself.
Absolutely.
And it will give you a sense of fulfillment. Because like if I go a week without making a video, I get a little.
Really?
Yeah, I get a little itchy.
Yeah, you do.
So your process is wonderful. The both of you. Thank you very much for that.
Very welcome. I
welcome.
try to go at slightly different angles, because a lot of our friends, and I love their channels and the videos they make and so on. And they're more like Michael W. Ford, and he's got the rituals and the deities, the entities, so on and so forth. Where I like to okay, I love all that. Now I'm not putting it down in any way, shape, or form, It's just that I want to like present it now. Okay, now how can we interpret this from a psychological perspective? You know what I mean? Go in that angle too, you know? Because as I like to say, everything is psychological.
Yeah.
Everything is psychological. Yeah. Everything is filtered through here, you know? And by doing this, I'm trying to give more legitimacy to what we, all of us, you included, what we do. Hey, buddy.
Hey, puppy. So what's his or her name there?
This is Hannibal.
Oh,
this is Hannibal.
Love it. Love it. Oh.
He went through the fire with us and everything. So he's very much, I mean, we used to make fun of people who had pets and treated them like children and stuff.
Oh my God. That was awful of us.
She's the worst.
That's me. That's me.
Like
that's me.
Okay, we'll be sitting down watching a movie, and suddenly she goes, "I have to go pause the movie." It's all pause it. I have to go make sure Hannibal's tucked in. It's like,
I know. Me too.
He's an American bully, which is like a pit. He didn't look too big on the screen, but he weighs almost 70 pounds. He's like a pit bull on steroids. And she treats him like he's a baby.
And I speak to him in Icelandic too.
Oh yeah, at least
because I'm Icelandic. My mom talked to us in Icelandic, but so all the little phrases that I grew up with because it was her first language.
And the dog understands Icelandic.
And so if I talk to him, say the same thing to him in English, he doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about. My older aunties and uncles, you know, and I was raised in the Icelandic tradition totally, with mom doing ritual and all that stuff.
Yeah, where she's from in Canada, a bunch of she's from the town of Gimli originally, where a bunch of Icelanders ended up after a huge volcano was going off in the 1800s. They all thought, you know, oh, we're going to go to North America where it's going to be warmer. No, not in Canada. It's actually colder than Iceland, where they ended up.
A wrong turn there.
There's a huge Icelandic community, and being from the States, I never met anyone who was Icelandic. You know, I met plenty of people who was Swedish or Norwegian or whatever, but not Icelandic. Lisa's actually the first person of Icelandic.
And I was born into an Icelandic fishing village.
Yeah.
Gimli.
Yeah.
Gimli.
Wow.
Yeah.
They even have a Viking statue there because it's right on a Lake Winnipeg. Mm-hmm. And they got a big Viking statue there at the town as you go into it. They're really into
I've tried to feed him, you know, a couple of, or at least for sure, traditional food, like
the dog. Feed him? Is that what you're trying? Or meat?
You.
Oh.
You know, like harfiskar. He won't eat it. Harfiskar. Tommy, come on, because it's just hardfish that's, you know, dried out. And it smells the house up, and nobody here likes it. And, you know.
No, it's really stinky.
You know, there's one thing I'll say that
it's fish jerky, basically.
Yeah.
The Vikings used to take with them on their ships. And so.
Yeah. You know, things like talking with Hannibal, if he's feeling sorry for himself, or I won't give him his like second scoops of supper or whatever. He feels sorry for himself, right? So I'm like, I'm talking like I'm talking to a human with him. I don't know, crazy parenting on dogs. I'll go, oh, Amy, good little Hannibal, and he just looks at me like, what the fuck are you saying?
And what does that mean? What do you?
Oh, poor little Hannibal.
Oh, okay.
Poor little Hannibal.
Yeah, Lisa has an interesting lineage, if you will, Icelandic and Romani, as in gypsy.
Oh yeah.
So a combination. And she's also French, but she didn't count that.
Well, there was never any interaction with them. You know, with the Icelanders, they were all over. You know, that was what we were. And the Romani, oh boy,
We went to a Romani festival in Northern
Yeah.
California.
As we were going in, it's like people were going in and out, and this
I see all these
girls,
black-haired, long, straight black hair and the features, and I look at Lisa, and I look at them, I look at Lisa, I look at them.
I know, because the first woman I saw coming towards me, she was leaving. I was like, cousins, sister I don't know about, like.
Could be.
and it's interesting from a cultic or esoteric perspective, because Icelandic magic is really big now, and let's put it this way, gypsies have always been cool within the occult communities. So yeah.
My grandpa he couldn't deny he was a gypsy too, like he was from Europe, but he bought a house once. It looked like a beautiful cabin. It was on a river, and I was there, several times. He didn't keep it that long, but yeah, he like within a month he sold it. He couldn't stand being stuck in a house.
He had to live in his van.
He lived in his van all his life.
Yeah, I mean the gypsy lifestyle, that constant moving and yeah. Wow. Now, do you ever go back to Iceland? Do you find time to go back, or you stay in touch with anyone there?
She hasn't been to Iceland.
I've never been to Iceland.
Yeah.
No. A lot of my relatives, like they came over, right? And I was raised completely in the traditions. Like it was my mom's first language. And she still can speak it to this day, and she's 80 something.
But the village where she's from, in Canada, Gimli, when was the last time you were there?
Oh, it's been several years.
Yeah.
It's important to keep the culture.
Yeah.
To keep that. But my mother, they had a very deep rooting in Italian, from Palermo, Sicily.
Sicilian.
Yeah. And I remember my great grandmother could not speak English.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going to the relatives in New Orleans when I was real little. My mother carried me there, and we would go and stay for, a couple of weeks. And I went out with the neighborhood kids and came back, and I told my grandmother what I had learned. And she said, golly darn, I've been trying to teach, she was saying all this in Italian. I've been trying to teach you good words, and you pick up bad words out on the street. Don't you ever say that again. I had no idea what she was saying.
My next video, the video I'm working on right now, is getting in touch with the ancestors, if you will, because that's something that we've lost touch with in the modern world, in modernity, because the ancestors were everything in the past. I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of years. We had touch with our ancestral roots, and that's the problem with modernity. That is one of the biggest problems. People they've lost meaning, in a sense, even though all three of us, we have no connection to Christianity whatsoever. It has, though, given a lot of people meaning in their lives.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for us. It's like some people are vegans, that doesn't work for me, but it might work for you, or whomever, but it's given a lot of people meaning, and that meaning is starting to drift away. So people are getting into other shit, like extreme politics, extreme left and right politics become that fills that God-shaped hole within them. You know what I mean? So,
absolutely.
So this getting in touch with the subconscious, the collective unconscious, and our subconscious, personal subconscious, going going all the way down to the ancestors. I find that so relevant, so important, because like I mentioned earlier, I'm the family genealogist. I'm really into my personal heritage. I just learned. See, for years I wasn't sure who my grandfather was, my mother's father. I thought it was a Sicilian guy, but it turned out no. Turned out it was a Mexican guy who my Polish grandmother was having an affair with. Uh, DNA proved it. I got these crazy cheekbones. White people don't have cheekbones like this. So yeah. And then from there, I got, okay, I learned about the indigenous roots because a decent amount of indigenous blood showed up. This region of Sonora, the Sonoran Desert. And I learned about this chthonic deity called Iitoi, is the god of these people, called the O'odham, specifically the Tohono O'odham. And he lives in a mountain, and he defeated Coyote and what was it, Yellow Buzzard or whatever. And after he settled in this mountain cave, and you can go to that cave and leave gifts to him to this day. And that's, to me, that is so important, getting in touch not only with your personal ancestors in a sense, but those ancestral roots. And also, like on my dad's side, his family was from the South, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, Virginia, Carolina, so on and so forth. So I'm like, got a whole bunch of hillbilly in me too. The Scots-Irish, Celtic, Anglo connection. So you can go into the Celtic gods, and you can go to Wotan or Wotan or Odin, if that's what you want to call him. So I'm going to touch on all that stuff in my next video, is getting in touch and how to do it too. I'm actually going to present you can call it a meditative ritual to get in touch with those entities.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. I am excited about that. The one part of my family I can't track back, because my father left when I was so young, and I know he was African American. I mean, you can't have a nose like this and not be.
I have some Nigerian blood. Nigerian blood showed up in my family tree.
Did it? Really?
Yeah, North African and Nigerian, and that comes from the southern roots. These people called the Melungeons, who are like a Creole type people.
Yeah.
Instead of Louisiana, they're from the Appalachian region, African and some indigenous.
Yeah.
And that was my great-great-grandmother. There's pictures of this woman, and she's dressed in traditional, like, native garb, but it's like Plains Indian, and this region was Appalachia, and it's like something's not right there. And what it was is her being Melungeon, who basically mixed, if you will, they would present as native because it was easier to get along than being of African heritage.
And they mixed a lot.
Yeah, way
down
back
in Louisiana. Baton Rouge, red stick, that's an Indian term.
Right.
And that's where the hoodoo and the voodoo, the hoodoo is what I found first on the left-hand path.
You done your DNA?
I can't, yeah. And it showed Northern Africa for that. And Sicily, Sicilian and African, that's got to be a mix, huh? Well, I've asked a lot of questions tonight, and I love the conversation, and I'm looking forward to that next video of yours. Absolutely. Anything that you want to let people know about that's coming up? Anything new or anything that you want to make people aware of?
I got on X. I'm on Instagram. The X thing is weird. because I got a few hundred, followers or whatever, and then they all like overnight all dropped down to like, what did people all realize? Oh, this son of a bitch is evil, and they all left at the same time. I don't know what happened. It was kind of weird, but yeah, I'm on X, on Instagram, of course, the YouTube channel, our website, sectofthehorngod.com. What is going on that's special? Oh, I certain things I don't want to jinx, even though I'm not really superstitious, but yeah, there's some stuff hopefully coming out.
Well, we'll look forward to that. And you just let me know, drop me an email and I'll let my folks know. And that's why I do these videos. I think for posterity to show that, hey, there are different paths, different beliefs, different people, but at the end of the day, we're just people, We can come
Yeah.
together and it's very interesting. It's a very eclectic mix on the left-hand side.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
it
really
should
is.
be. It should be, because
Yeah.
if we were all, uniform, it wouldn't be the path.
One thing I do say, to some of the mail that I get to angry young people who hate their parents and they hate Christianity and they're Satanists and, don't worry about Satanism because it's taking away time you could to hate them or dislike them
Or
and mouth off.
don't worry about Satanism, or don't worry about Christianity.
Yeah, don't worry about Christianity. That's what I'm
Christianity,
trying to
okay,
say.
yeah.
Yeah. Because it's taking that how you're approaching is taking time away from you to make yourself better. Never mind anybody else. Shut up. Right.
Quit being so angry.
Quit being so
Because
angry.
I know a lot of us got on this path,
Oh, sure.
frustration, anger,
Yeah.
frustration,
The angst
felt
of it.
lied to,
Yeah.
but then you got to get over
You
it,
got to get over it.
because you're not going to progress. You're just going to stand there at the starting line, beating
Yeah.
your chest, shouting at the world, and no one's going to give a shit.
Yeah.
You're not the important thing about this path is what you get out of it.
Yeah.
All right, is where you are headed. What direction are you headed in? It's a path.
Yeah.
It's called a path for a reason. It's something you take and you journey on. You just don't stand there and shout and scream. And, hopefully somebody will notice you,
Yeah.
Screaming like a bratty kid in Walmart, you go down it, because there is a destination.
Absolutely.
So I'm very polite to them, of course, but come on, you got to wake up a little bit here. What are you doing? Never mind what they're doing. What are you doing?
Right, right. And all of that anger and that hate just destroys you. It doesn't affect them.
Yeah.
No.
And that's a hard lesson to learn. I know as a young boy, a young man, I felt the same way, and I
Mhm.
was
Yeah.
wrestling with
natural.
It's a natural
addiction and
thing.
things. Yeah, yeah. It's like it's everyone else's fault but mine.
Oh, yeah.
But the day that I stopped and I said, you know what? I'm the one that got myself into this.
Mhm. And
From
that's
that,
almost liberating, isn't it? It's just
it is.
absolutely
It
liberating.
is. It felt like a weight was lifted.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
okay, now I'm telling the truth about it.
Literally,
Now
it's
I
the
can
weight
move
of the
on.
world. The weight of the world is suddenly lifted off you because you figured the world was after you. But when you realize the world doesn't give a fuck about you, you know what I mean? The universe doesn't give a fuck about you. That is about you to make the best of it. Everybody suffers to one degree or another. It's how you handle the suffering. That sounds very Buddhist, but it's true.
Well, thank you both for
Thank you. This was
being
a
here
great
tonight.
conversation, getting to know you better.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we'll do it again. We'll do
Okay.
it in
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, great.
in about a year. We'll come back. We'll check in with you and everything. I know my viewers love that. So, and for those of you at home, I'm going to put the links in there. Go and check out their YouTube channel. Check out the Horn God. Great stuff. And it gives you a different perspective on the path, and it will enrich in your life. I know it has mine. So until next time, this has been Aleister Nacht. Ave Satanas.